On this episode, we talk about Seth Rollins getting injured, who will win the Survivor Series tournament, the Brothers of Destruction facing the Wyatt family, the future of the New Day, and more now on Byte That.
Hey gang, what is going on? You are listening to episode 116 of Byte That's weekly wrestling podcast, the place where we sit down and apparently talk about wrestlers that continue getting injured and hurting our feelings within the WWE and the rest of professional wrestling. Thanks for tuning in and checking out the show. Remember, we are available every single Tuesday night on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, ByteThat.com, and of course, for this and tons more, head on over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. My name is Juan Velas. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico. And with a depressive panel this week because, guys, we keep talking about things that keep happening, and I'm getting continuously worried. So first from Boston, Massachusetts, Ryan McNulty, and from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, Keith Poshik. What's up?
This is truly the darkest timeline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's what you get for messing with Dolph Ziggler, you know?
True. I guess the time came and the time happened. I was on the way to home from work today. I was listening to last week's podcast, and step by step, I kept thinking to myself, okay, so that got worse. This changed. Randy was injured, and now Seth Rollins is injured. We talked about Bray Wyatt's magical powers, and then now we're going to get to something that's like completely different. So let's get right to what people really want to hear about. You broke a video this weekend, Ryan, about Seth Rollins' unfortunate injury. He tore his ACL, correct?
Yeah, ACL and MCL, I want to say. I believe bad.
So, yeah. Yeah, like he'll be out 6 to 9 months. I'm assuming you guys had the chance to watch the video. It's pretty graphic. He was going for a move that he's done a lot. This is something he did all the way back in NXT. Basically, the turnbuckle rolling power bomb that was supposed to go through a table, which it did. And then just something went wrong with the right leg, I believe it was, and things just took a really bad turn.
It's just one of those things that's a freak accident, you know? Like, I'm going back and watching all that Attitude Era stuff. Actually watching what ended Shawn Michaels' career seems like the smallest, tiniest little thing in the match, but it was just such a big change that happened in wrestling history. So it's just one of those things, like, yeah, he could have done it 100 times, but only have to do it or like slip once to make it like devastating. So
and he finished the match. He still did the power bomb and even a pedigree.
He's the champ. He's the champ. That's what you do when you're the champ.
I mean, who knows what extra damage that pedigree did, but he's still, he was the champ for a reason.
Hey, we call him the new Triple H. Triple H finished that match when he tore his quad.
It's true. He took a Walls of Jericho on the announce table.
That puts Rollins on that upper echelon. That's what that does.
So isn't it crazy just how 1 week later, everything can just be completely different in one product? You never see that on a TV show, on a traditional TV show, which is the great thing about WWE. Last week, we're thinking, well, maybe it's going to be Bray versus Rollins at some point. Now, Rollins is completely out of the equation. The whole spectrum has changed, so they have this tournament. But I want to get back to a similar conversation last week we had about Randy Orton. Keith, you were one of the people that brought up that sometimes getting injured, not that it sounds odd, but it's actually a good thing. It avoids burnout of the character. And here we have the guy that was the champion. The champion gets stripped, much like Daniel Bryan unfortunately had. So maybe there's some kind of championship curse we can get to some point down the line. But where do you see this situation with Rollins, who got injured as a heel, and now all the podcast, everybody's speculating. So he's going to be the biggest babyface when he comes back, and they can't wait to see that happen. Are you on that boat, or what's your take on it?
I mean, yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen when Rollins comes back. But as far as it being a good thing that he got injured, I think it's the exact opposite of the situation of Randy Orton, where Rollins was on top of the freaking world right now, and it just all basically went away with that one injury. And now, could he get it back when he comes back? Absolutely. But I don't know. It's just so unfortunate.
It makes things exciting because it's such a shakeup, but I wouldn't obviously wish for it to happen. I think I would have been probably happier if Rollins didn't get injured. You know, you're never really happy about a guy getting injured, but sometimes injuries like cause great things to happen. You know, I mean, if Steve Austin didn't break his neck, would he be the same Steve Austin? We really don't know. Things could have played out very differently. So it's weird how that works because new opportunities arise when someone, gets injured. So with Orton out, Cena away, Rollins injured, it's the most wide open playing field that I think you can say we've seen in a very long time. And, that top heel spot is very much a missing spot right now. And it's anyone's game as to who's going to fill that.
But, it is kind of nice that they didn't just bring Cena back on Raw. They're actually doing...
Yeah, credit for them.
Yes,
and they're
the fact
probably,
that he's not in this tournament,
going with somebody new. Yeah, it's nice.
Because the rumors definitely piled up. But Ryan, you mentioned Stone Cold. So that's somebody that... in many ways, we got more character development because they had to force him into non-wrestling roles. So he was still part of the show for a good while. Now with Rollins, do you think it should be something where it's keep him off until he is ready? So similar to like Triple H's 2002 return, 2002, where we saw some video packages, the graphic surgery stuff, but he was never really part of the show until that return. Or should they do something else?
I think you keep him off TV. I think the situation with Austin was that he was so insanely popular. Like, he was really gaining so much steam that they wanted to keep him on TV. But Rollins, he was a heel. He wasn't really like getting huge babyface reactions. Yes, he was their top heel, but this is a guy that you should probably just keep off TV. Let people miss him. Mick Foley says a lot of times he comes back too early, doesn't stay away long enough, and doesn't let people miss him enough.
Yeah.
So, stay away long enough, let people miss you so that when you come back, you'll have a lot more momentum. And, it doesn't matter who you were when you left. Like, people will miss you and they'll always give you a babyface reaction when you return.
Exactly. I think the Triple H example in this one is a good one because sometimes you can have more impact by doing nothing and not being there than actually just showing up every week. So I think Rollins should stay off TV for the time being, heal up, come back better than ever.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the opportunity. Keep in mind, ratings are going down. So this is almost panic mode for WWE. And then keep in mind that the Raw that we got was pre-taped because there were overseas.
To be a fly on the wall the day Rollins got injured in those creative meetings would have been incredible.
Yeah, because it's the guy you've literally invested all of your time since last year's WrestleMania. We were talking about the possibility of a Shield triple threat match. All of that is gone until maybe SummerSlam. Like, think about that for context. We may not see Rollins wrestle until SummerSlam.
Is there any worse person who could have gotten injured on the roster? Would Roman Reigns be worse? I don't even know.
No. Yeah,
probably not.
There's no,
probably
because
not.
A guy like Roman Reigns, there can be a lot of prospect, but he's still in the building phase. Rollins was there. He was the guy that they needed to get thrown down by Roman Reigns, and now this happens. Now, obviously, you brought it up, Keith. There were a lot of rumors about WWE contacting either John Cena, Brock Lesnar, for them to be coming back, and everybody's reaction was just sort of like, really, you're going back down the well? We've talked about this. You need to build new stars. But then they announced this tournament. Now, at first, a lot of people, myself included, thought that the tournament was going to be a one-night thing. I was actually listening to a Sam Roberts podcast special, and the whole episode is based on the premise that it's a one-night thing. Now, they're doing it on Raw, SmackDown, so this is leading up to the show. And we have the obvious people, like, your Roman Reigns, your Dean Ambrose, your Titus O'Neil. That one threw me off. Yeah. But it's nice though, right? Taking it to you, Ryan. You're the number one contender guy.
Number contender.
Not number 5, and now we're getting to 16 possible contenders. But isn't it nice that they actually went this route, or do you have something against it?
I really like it, and I also like that they're spreading it out over Raw. They're giving some meaningful matches on Raw and SmackDown. If you threw it all on Survivor Series, what are they going to do for the next couple weeks leading up to it? Just talk about the tournament the whole time? I think, you have 3 hours to fill. You have 5 hours to fill every week. You might as well spread some of the love and like keep some interesting, meaningful matches going along. And I like that, you throw in guys like, you do 16-man tournament. You throw in guys like Titus O'Neil and Kalisto, guys who normally wouldn't be in this position, kind of let them shine a little bit.
Isn't that nice?
It's
so different.
It is. It's not like we have the usual suspects in this tournament. You get some of the guys you expect, but pretty much I don't think anyone in this tournament has ever been champion, if I recall, except for Sheamus. Sheamus he's the only
Miz.
One. What?
Miz.
Oh, the Miz. That's right.
Well, and Ziggler.
that memorable.
Oh,
title
and
reign.
Ziggler.
And that memorable title reign.
But yeah.
Either one. Yeah, I mean, if they're world heavyweight champion, I guess that somewhat counts too. Oh, and Del Rio. All right, never mind. I'm way off.
Keep scrolling, Ryan.
It's still fresh, right, guys?
Totally. But Ryan, I am on the complete other side of the fence with that, where it should totally be a one-night tournament thing. At least not the whole shebang, but at least have the final 8 matches, and that's your Survivor Series. Because that's something they've done before, even at Survivor Series with a Deadly Game 1998. I think.
I think so.
And I mean, I don't know, it builds a little more interest. I think it's a cool thing. Like now, oh cool, we're gonna see the finals at Survivor Series.
Well, they might do the semifinals and the finals. I'm not sure.
They really should. At least
when is
semifinals
Survivor
and finals.
Series?
It's 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now.
So
you think that they're gonna do
not this weekend, but the next?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they can do the quarterfinals this week and then leave the following week, and then you have the semifinals and then the finals on the pay-per-view. So it's still 3 matches, which I think is fine. So the guys, they'll wrestle twice in one night as opposed to 3 times. Because what else can you really fit on the card after that? If you have...
But just make that the card then. Make Survivor Series that tournament.
Yeah, but they kind of have like the Undertaker and stuff going on, You can't just be like, forget you guys, you're off the card.
Yeah, so throw the Undertaker match, the Divas match, and then the rest of the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I know we usually sometimes complain about speculation, but that is purely what we can base everything out of this from. Because right now we're talking about the tournament, but then the next topic is who may win this tournament. Let's face facts. You have 16 people, but it's really down to either Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose, and even that is questionable. First of all, do you think that's going to be the final match in the tournament? It's going to be Reigns versus Ambrose, or is it going to be somebody else?
I think it's going to be Reigns versus Ambrose because WWE is smart somewhat, and that they know that I felt like that was really smarky to say anyway. But they know that we're expecting only a couple people even have a chance. So if they want to keep things interesting, you got to have it be Reigns versus Ambrose, because even though Reigns is the heavy, heavy favorite, there's an outside shot that you could see Ambrose winning.
Quick thing before I forget, Tyler Breeze versus Dean Ambrose happened on Raw. How do you guys feel about that?
I liked it. It was a very kind of cool matchup. I was a little worried that I was like, well, they're throwing Breeze in this match. Like, do they really want to have him already start losing? Because I really expect Ambrose as a heavy favorite, like I said, to make it to the finals. But I think the way that they did it was good, and that, it protected Breeze from, like not looking like he's just some jobber or whatever. They kept him strong and like had him work Ambrose's shoulder, and then just kind of like a sneak pin to for Ambrose to win it. So I thought they put him in a nice kind of high profile match where he lost and he didn't look bad.
Agreed.
Did you guys see the small package promo Dean Ambrose cut after Raw?
I saw it posted on Squared Circle, and I still have to watch it.
Please do yourself a favor. Watch it. It's essentially Ambrose cutting like a 2 to 3 minute promo about the perfection of a small package roll up to Renee Young. And she is trying so hard not to laugh because he's not making any sense. I've watched it about 4 or 5 times. So please, everybody listening, if you haven't watched it, go to WWE's YouTube channel, WWE Fan Nation.
Is this video going to be like the key secret to why in kayfabe the small package is such an effective pin?
Yeah, like he straight up made sense. Like it didn't make sense because of the way he said it, but when you really break it down, it's like, oh, because it wasn't any small package. It was the small package. And when applied correctly, it will work 99% of the time. And I was like, I'm sold, man. That makes sense to me. you're the wrestler
we've
guy.
Been looking for.
Yeah.
I know. Now we can bring back the sleeper because you don't have a sleeper, just the sleeper hold.
Sleeper. Yeah. Okay. So, Keith, what about yourself regarding Ambrose Reigns as probably the main event for Survivor Series?
Like you said, it's probably going to be the main event, but I'm holding out a little bit of hope that, they're not just going to go with the most obvious choice. I mean, you look at the tournament bracket and you immediately see, okay, Roman's on one side, Ambrose is on the other, obviously, but Kevin Owens is also on that side, so maybe it's going to be Reigns versus Kevin Owens at the main event of Survivor Series. But I mean, if you're going to do, somebody's got to fill that top heel spot. I think that's the biggest point of contention going into that tournament. So maybe whether it be Reigns or Ambrose, one of them turns heel in that match and fills Rollins' shoes.
Somebody's turning heel real soon.
Somebody.
Real soon.
Now, keep in mind that in the weeks leading up to this, our entire conversation has been, when is Dean Ambrose turning on Roman Reigns? It only makes sense, buddy, you take Seth Rollins out. And that almost makes that not make any sense. Like, why would Dean Ambrose, at least to me, why would he turn on Reigns? Like, Rollins is not even in the picture, at least to me, especially with the promo that Triple H cut on Raw, which was great, by the way. That was such a great way of going back to being a heel authority. Like, no pun intended, not even name aside. He felt like an authority in the company. Like, okay, this guy is the decision maker and you got to respect him. Reigns defied him. But at the same time, it's like, he made a lot of sense, and Roman has been screwed out of the title so many times that I would like a heel Roman Reigns, especially when we have no Rollins for half a year.
Yeah, no, that was perfectly executed because they had this situation where Roman Reigns is the number one contender. All right, screw you guys. You're not going to do it. All right.
No.
So Reigns is the number one contender. And they're like, how do we deal with this situation? How do we make it so that, if Reigns just took a bye to whatever, even if he got like a first round bye or something, that's like not very admirable of a baby face. So they were like, how do we deal with this situation where we can make Reigns look good? And it's not like he's just getting an easy ride to the finals. So it was kind of perfect to have Triple H come out there and say, like, you can go right to the finals if, while he was like seducing Reigns to the dark side. Yeah, become my man. And Reigns didn't want none of that, but it kind of also sets up an out for maybe in the finals, he calls in Triple H to help him for like a heel turn.
It totally writes itself. And then he cuts a promo on Raw saying, I was so close so many times. Now I took the guaranteed victory. Easy money.
And it's almost like there are so many ways that match can happen. Because the turn part, whatever, it can be like Rollins where, chair shot, something happens. But I would almost like Reigns to win with a cheap heel tactic. Like even grabbing the tights or something, because we've never seen that from Reigns. Reigns is the powerhouse. I would love to see just like, man, ever since last year's WrestleMania, everybody has just screwed me out of this. I'm desperate. Like, I'm going to become the champion, and I am done playing by these rules. That is the traditional heel. Like that, I'm not saying anything groundbreaking, right? But the fact of the matter is that almost all of the reaction that Reigns has gotten has been organic. Like, people have legitimately not liked him as a character. So I'd say this is the perfect time. This is how you go from, well, we just got rid of our biggest heel guy because it's out of our control. So let's just take the other guy that people were kind of not liking and turn that up 20 times. You can have even a John Cena Roman Reigns match, because even if you don't care about either one alone, you're gonna want to.
Can the universe handle that? Can
I don't
the
know.
fabric of the universe handle that?
I don't know, but think about the audience, that crowd interaction in whichever arena that's going to be. That alone is going to make the match. And you just took Roman Reigns from being like, yeah, he's trying to be the next Cena, to like, he is on the same level with John Cena.
I know this sounds like super cynical, but the crowd reaction will probably still be, let's go Cena. Cena sucks.
Probably. But this is about as close as we can get to like, Cena sucks, Reigns sucks. We could almost get a duel.
I think, no, if Reigns goes heel, dude, people are going to love him. I'm telling you. Give it a couple weeks and everyone will love Reigns. And if it's Reigns versus Cena and Reigns is the heel, they're all going to cheer for Reigns.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, now that I'm thinking about it, Roman Reigns going heel is probably the closest thing we're ever going to get to John Cena turning heel.
Essentially, because when you really think about it, not thinking about wrestling logic, Roman Reigns wouldn't even be turning heel. He'd just be saying, like, I'm sick of you guys booing me. Like, yeah. I just want to become champion. This is not about being a good guy or a bad guy. Like, it's not my fault I won the Rumble that one time. Sorry. You know, Rollins cashed in the briefcase. Like, these things have been out of my control. Yet you boo me, so fine, I'll do whatever I want.
Writes itself.
Exactly. So I want to see it happen. The obvious question is, where does that leave Ambrose? I guess we'll wait. You know, we'll definitely get the SmackDown spoilers. Watch SmackDown this week. Then next week is going to be a key thing, because if we're left with Ambrose versus Reigns, then it's going to be inevitable. Who's going to turn on who? And if that doesn't happen, then the internet will explode. Now, speaking of exploding, we had magical powers.
Oh boy, this one is a doozy.
Yeah,
this is a doozy. All right, continue.
Tell, I'm just gonna take this over to Ryan almost immediately.
Okay. Well,
just quick context. Quick context. Yeah,
go for it.
Because I know you're just waiting. So okay. Here's the thing. Last week we talked about dumb wrestling is great when you introduce over-the-top things. We hope that those things are consistent, that they keep happening. Bray Wyatt took all these powers. Then on Raw,
pretty great,
Taker and Kane just came out, even though they were sort of abducted by Bray Wyatt, and he took their souls. But then, what? That was my setup for you,
That was
Ryan.
the intro. Yep. Okay, so last week, everything we said last week, you can just throw that in the trash because it doesn't matter anymore. All that excitement and everything was just completely ruined in a 15-minute segment. You had Bray Wyatt. You had him actually have a chance to look strong and maybe have a reason to beat Undertaker and Kane. And then, so they have the whole Wyatt family, the entire Wyatt family ready to go. Bray's gonna show off his powers. All of a sudden, the video package apparently means that their souls are back, because it it unsucked itself from the screen to show the same video package. The Brothers of Destruction come out. There was a slight moment where it could have been saved if Undertaker and Kane just bowed down to Bray Wyatt, and that would have been awesome.
Great.
Would have been awesome.
It would have been so good.
Yep, but no, two old men beat the hell out of four up and coming members of the Wyatt family, and they were just destroyed like it was nothing. Oh, Brothers of Destruction win, lol. And there you go. Why, hey, if there's a match at Survivor Series, the Brothers of Destruction don't even need any partners. They don't need the Dudley Boys or anyone like that, because apparently they can just wreck everyone on their own.
Even Braun Strowman, who is seemingly unstoppable, but these guys just got their souls back, so hey, it's all good in the hood.
Yep, so once again, Bray Wyatt's just back to where he was, a complete joke. And I know they wanted to get a ride, they wanted to treat the, the Manchester crowd or whatever, because they probably never get to see The Undertaker. But, if you're going to do something like this, maybe do a little dark segment where they can get a rise out of the crowd. But I don't know, that it's just to take away what you built the week before. They really had something, and if they kept the Wyatts looking strong, it would have
Playing devil's advocate here. Do you think there's a positive aspect to this? Like, we have Taker and Kane back. I mean, we are seeing Taker and Kane active on Raw, which is a weird thing. But do you think that there's any way where they can turn this back around into maybe Bray and the gang leading with a win at Survivor Series? Maybe they're trying to deceive us by thinking, well, Taker and Kane are all good.
Part of, like, that's the thing. I was going to say, I mean, it's definitely not over. And next week they could try and right those wrongs. But I think that was just a bad way to do it because, you know, if we're trying to go with this whole storytelling thing, like, at least make the whole soul-eating thing matter, which I didn't think I'd say in a wrestling podcast, but you know what I mean? Like, that was part of the story, is that he was supposed to be taking their power. So now it's just back to whatever Bray Wyatt says means nothing. We thought for once this was going to be the time where his jumbly gobbledygook, like, actually made sense. It actually meant something. But once again, it doesn't mean anything. And, like, sure, oh, they're going to get one over on them, and then the next week, whatever. And then maybe the Wyatts win at the end. But I think, like, having a good storytelling aspect to this feud was important to have, like, Bray Wyatt's promos be more credible than just, like, kind of getting that win.
Keith,
Absolutely.
question for you.
Okay.
So, last week, you were the biggest advocate for this whole, like, dumb wrestling is great when applied correctly.
And I still believe it.
Yeah. So last week we went from soul eating to no eating. Such a drastic change in 1 week. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, okay, how can I justify this? And I really couldn't figure out a way. Do you think that maybe WWE realized, like, is this too ridiculous for a show that features mostly normal people now?
Yes, I mean that's totally a possibility because they want to be more real, and they just maybe somebody took a step back and maybe realized that it just went a little too far. I guess that's a possibility. I personally strongly disagree with that, but I think the big problem just with this is timing. Like Ryan said, it'll probably go on. It'll probably something will happen next week. Maybe a Survivor Series match, and maybe all the rights are wrong. But the fact you are 2 weeks out and they came out and just cleaned house. Like, this is The Undertaker. This is somebody who has had entire feuds where he didn't show up and there was just video packages. You're telling me that he couldn't just have some crazy cryptic, I'm challenging you at Survivor Series, Bray Wyatt thing, and then save that beating till then, I guess. But it just seems, irredeemable at this point, where how are you supposed to make Bray Wyatt look credible after just getting whooped? Even if he gets the win, what does that accomplish anymore?
Bray Wyatt is such a fascinating thing because it's deja vu over and over. I literally talked about this last week. Here's another parallel example. Remember when Dana Bryan became part of the Wyatt family? Not even a month later. It was
that
like
was
2
great
weeks
for
later.
A week.
Wasn't it? Yeah, it was like 2 weeks, right? Yeah. He was possessed, then he was Dana Bryan like that, and then the cage match. And now with this, we just have the 1 week, which once again begs the question, why should we become invested in Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family?
You know, it's like if Undertaker and Kane have even just showed like a little sign of weakness, a sign of vulnerability from this whole like soul eating thing.
They were
if they'd
just
shown
fine.
anything, like it affected them in the least, like it just affected them a little bit. Like they missed one punch because of it. That would have been so much better. But it was like nothing ever happened. It's classic Bray Wyatt story. Nothing ever happens. It doesn't mean anything.
Like, I mean, even with that segment, just flip the table a bit and then have the Wyatts beat down the Brothers of Destruction. That would have been so impactful. It would have like given meaning to Bray Wyatt's words, and then let them get their revenge at Survivor Series. But no, this is the darkest timeline. That's what this is.
Concluding reaction here. Last week we were pretty pumped, or at least intrigued, at the idea of this match happening at Survivor Series. Now that we had this physical interaction, not just verbal, but physical interaction on Raw, how much has that lowered? Because I can already tell it sort of has.
You know, I really like looking at the Brothers of Destruction's entrance, so I'm still looking forward to that, seeing that. Other than that, not so much.
They're not going to get the motorcycle entrance, though.
Yeah. It's definitely killed a lot of excitement.
They did that a couple times on SmackDown with Evil Undertaker. The memorable match of the Brothers of Destruction versus Matt Hardy and Montel Vontavious Porter. MVP.
Vontavious. Close enough, but yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, I mean, when you see every single member of the Wyatt family just get wrecked, like even Braun Strowman didn't get to look strong and he always gets to look strong. It's hard to be invested in it when 2-on-4 is clearly just easy mode for the Brothers of Destruction.
Yeah, so concluding thought is this kind of sucks, but then this is maybe the story of Bray Wyatt. I really want to get everybody's feedback about this because I know that we just went from a really positive thing about how WWE turned a negative into a positive with the ideas of the tournament and all that, but yet this is like full on negative. But at least for me, and I know that Ryan and Keith can attest to this, there's not many positive things that are happening out of the Bray Wyatt thing other than, well, hopefully this happens. Hope is kind of run dry for me and Bray Wyatt. So that is it. But getting to a couple of awesome announcements. As always, we have a very cool thing happening every Thursday over at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. As I mentioned last week, there could be a delay in Fight Nights. And you are technically getting a delay, but not really. You're getting a brand new Fight Night video that is a bonus. So if you witnessed the last episode, there is a VHS tape that Ryan and myself, we analyzed to see where Rex and Sex are, or at least Rex. But there was this commentary.
Still looking for Sex, especially Ryan.
And hey, never gonna happen. But at least you get to hear the commentary from that VHS tape over this Thursday, which Keith, I may add, I streamed this over at twitch.tv/bythethat, our Twitch channel, and people prefer your commentary way more than anything.
Me.
Yeah, your
I thought that was commentated by Ivan von Hackenschmidt.
Sorry, Ivan von
You don't even remember your own commentary name, but that's fine.
Yeah, close enough. So yeah, Fight Nights are a fantasy wrestling league in the WWE 2K games, so definitely check that out. And a quick update regarding my hard drive. I actually just got it today. My wife was able to pick it up. It is a 3 terabyte hard drive, which I now need to get to the fun process of transferring all of that stuff. Yay. So once I have that good to go, then we should be okay. We should be a lot of people, so just hang on tight. Square roundtables are coming. Discussion videos will continue on the weekends. And then the Twitch streams will be happening every now and then. We're doing a lot of things to get ready for 2016. And from the conversations that we've had, I think everybody is going to be liking some of the changes that are going to be happening. You guys pumped for next year?
Like that. Woo! Get it? Like that? Because we're Byte That, but they'll like it, so they'll like that. Funny. Move on.
Anyway, let's get to some... let's get to the power of positivity, because I felt that, Keith. I felt that.
Did you?
Notice that this is the longest we've probably ever gone in months without bringing up the New Day, which I technically just brought up. So 33 minutes, 38 seconds. That happened. Ladies and gentlemen, the Seth Rollins thing last week featured the New Day with a great backstage segment and all of that. Now that he's out of the equation, they are very much just embedded into the tag team scene. You have the tournament, which takes up a lot of time. So I guess this week's Raw was the least that the New Day has been featured in quite some time.
They did get to technically main event.
Well, yeah, but in terms of time, they usually take a good chunk of Raw. And this week, it was definitely on the lower end. So what do you guys think is next for the New Day? They are very much established. People know who they are. They either like or hate the act, but they know that they have the wrestling potential. They're the 2-time tag team champions. Where do you really see them going? Just defending? Like, what are your expectations for the remainder of the year?
Well, I have a question for you guys. When New Day came out and did their stick and the crowd was totally into it, did you guys start to feel like, oh no, it's starting to happen? They're getting too in on the joke. maybe a little bit, and maybe like the whole crazy quirkiness of the New Day is starting to go too far and maybe get a little old. You know what I mean?
So the conversation we had last week, sort of.
Pretty much. But did you feel
Part two.
this week?
Part two.
Part two. I don't feel that at all. They still just...
And Ryan, I barely remember what happened on like Saturday. So yeah, okay, we had this conversation.
It was only the name of the podcast episode. But anyway, I really don't think so. They still feel like organic to me. Yeah, the crowd might get a little too into it or whatever. I don't know. But hey, I feel like everyone's having fun with the New Day. And like, I was definitely sad to see no representation of them in the tournament. But at the same time, I kind of realized that the tournament's taking up a lot of, a lot of spots, and that they probably want the New Day as like it's a separate featured thing that can be different than the tournament. Yeah, exactly. Like they're going to have the Divas, they're going to have the Wyatt Family Undertaker thing, and then they're probably going to have the New Day versus the Usos, I'm assuming. But
it should be a great match.
Yeah. I mean, as far as where do I see them going, I think that short term, obviously, staying in the tag division. I mean, they keep the tag division very interesting right now. People actually care about the tag division because of the New Day. So I think that's very important. But I think this is a group that needs to stay together for a long time because I actually really see like potential, especially with Big E. Like, I really think that if they keep this going at the rate that they're going, I mean, they're already getting in main event matches on Raw. Like, I want to see Big E become like a main event level guy from this. And I think it's entirely possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is the best time for WWE to sort of not stop on what the New Day is doing, but remind people they're also wrestlers. Because I think for the casual audience, they are very much the unicorn doing trombone using group that have some gold. But then the wrestling part is like very much on the third or fourth plane. And this is their chance of just give them time. Let people remind you that Big E is a powerhouse, Kofi is super athletic, and Xavier can do something more than other just talk.
But let him wrestle a little bit. It was good he was actually in a match this week.
Exactly.
And he got the pin.
Exactly. But those are the little things that prepare you for the future. You have three guys that could be future WWE World Heavyweight Champions. And keep in mind, Kofi is part of that conversation. I still think that anything is possible. The Miz was champion, okay? And people, like, let's never forget about that. And this is nothing against The Miz, but the host of Friday Night SmackDown, the guy that was on Real World, and all of these things, main evented a WrestleMania. And people believed them for that WrestleMania and with a video package. So literally anybody can become champion. Whether what happens afterwards is good or not, that's a story for another day. But I think specifically Xavier and Big E, out of the three, have a ton of potential to be a legitimate, and let's face facts. Like, when's the last time we've had a mainstay African-American WWE World Heavyweight Champion? I honestly can't even recall.
I don't think there's ever been The Rock is the only WWE champion who is African-American, and as far as I know.
Yeah, so
there's been more like Mark Henry and Booker T have had the world title, but not the WWE title.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always been this spin-off thing, this side thing. But I think specifically Xavier, with his mainstream appeal with gaming and all that, the guy is entertaining, he can wrestle, and he can do other stuff. PhD, like, this can keep going.
All right, I love Xavier Woods. I love me some Xavier Woods, but do you honestly believe that they would ever put him as WWE champion?
Yes and no. Which one do you want to know why first?
Surprise me.
I guess yes, because I figure we all know what the no is, but go for the yes.
My yes is because he can be exactly what WWE needs him to be. Because of his education background, because of his potential on the mic. You know, he's got the gift of gab. He can really market the product. That is also a detriment to him. With what just happened to Seth Rollins, I think that the WWE will look at everybody and think, okay, we are investing in these future main eventers. What if they get injured? Xavier is so good at everything And wrestling is a bonus. He is a commentator on WWE Superstars on the show. The guy does up, up, down, down. Do you really want that guy to give all of that up to just become champion? I don't think it's a matter of like either size or ability. I think it's just more, well, marketability and all these talents will be wasted at just becoming champion when he has like 50 other different things he can do.
So they see a lot of utility in him and don't like, so they would. So you're saying that's why they wouldn't put him in that position?
Yeah, at least that to me. Otherwise, I would actually give him a shot. That's just me.
Oh, well, I was going to kind of go with the more simpler route of, based on the way that they position him on the New Day, as he's clearly positioned as the weakest link as far as wrestling ability. Even though the guy's fantastic in the ring, they always make him look like he's not good.
Miz and Morrison.
Yeah. But, I mean, anything can definitely change. You know, perceptions can always change. And it's just how he's positioned and how people view him as like a casual fan or whatever. It would surprise me that they would all of a sudden start treating him above someone like Big E, who you know WWE would far more likely position as the guy to come out of that faction.
But look at Big E's track record as a singles wrestler in the past, right? I don't know if that bridge has been burnt. I guess there's one person you didn't mention,
he's so
and
much
that's
better and different than he was then. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of come out of his shell.
But that's because he's in the New Day. At least that's what I think, because he's surrounded himself by all this crazy and all this fun. If he went back to being a singles competitor, especially at that high level where you know it's like super well taken care of, super written out, do you think that would still happen?
I mean, think about like when people come out of these groups, think about Randy Orton before Evolution, Randy Orton after Evolution. You know, you can say the same thing about Batista. Sure, like Batista struggled a bit with character, whatever. He was still over as hell. So usually when these guys come out of groups like this, they've kind of broken out of that mold, that shell. They know who they are now. They have an identity. What Big E does coming out of that group, if he kind of stays with that goofy character or not, we don't know. But I feel like he's going to come out of it way better than he was with his first kind of singles run.
I also find it fascinating that you didn't even mention Kofi. Have you just like written Kofi off at this point?
I'm not trying to write Kofi off, but if we're talking about building for the future, I mean, Kofi's already been around for a long time, you know? I feel like if they're gonna like put a jetpack on a guy and rise him to the top of the card, it's probably going to be a guy that they can invest in for a while.
That's fair.
Yeah. I guess it's just funny to think about how there have been some slight comparisons to the Shield. I think the difference is that with the Shield, everybody saw this group as like three guys that from day one, you knew they were going to be singles competitors. With New Day, it was like these singles competitors are not really succeeding too much. So let's put them together. And I think that's why we have such a problem just figuring out what happens after the New Day. Miz and Mizdow, even though it wasn't like to the extent that this was, but it was very much like two guys that maybe aren't doing too much right now. You put them in there, it's great. You split them up, and the Miz and Sandow are just doing things, but they're not really the main focus that they once were with Miz and Mizdow. And I really hope that that doesn't happen with especially Big E and Xavier. Because, yeah, Kofi, I'm not discounting him or anything, but the guy has had a career in WWE, you know, to an extent. He has feuded with Randy. He has done a lot of stuff. So I just hope that Big E and Xavier get a piece of that pie. Maybe Pumpkin, because I would love that. Now, Ryan, last week, people called you out, and by people, I mean me, primarily, and then Keith, and then everybody else about Breaking Ground. Sir, have you watched the show?
Not only have I watched it, I believe I am ahead of you guys now, because I've watched the third episode.
Not me, because I did my homework.
Keith?
Yeah.
All right. I finally watched something that Juan hasn't watched yet.
Yeah, Woo! I haven't watched the third episode. I had a 24-hour marathon.
No excuses, man. No excuses.
Oh, my brother, justified. Okay, so
actually, totally excuses that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for context, so the majority have watched up to episode 3 now. keeping it spoiler free. Although I mean, it's like, is there much of a spoiler? This is so different because it's like a behind the scenes thing. But without going into super specific details here, Ryan, what would you say is the thing that has it most gripped you, or like really kept your interest on the 3 episodes that you've watched so far, if anything? Because maybe you don't like it.
Well, first of all, I like the show. I wouldn't say I am blown away by it, but I do enjoy watching it. I think people might have slightly overhyped it to me a bit, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. I do definitely enjoy it. I think what I enjoy most, though, is seeing the NXT roster and kind of the behind the scenes of that, which actually this 3rd episode goes a lot more in depth with the NXT on the road and kind of them more so than like the guys who are still in the performance center developmental side. Overall, it's good. I think there's a few things that seem a little played up for TV. Like, it's definitely more real than like a Total Divas or something like that. But when it's like they get footage of Dana Brooke training and it's like, oh, like I'll train all day. I'll train in the rain. And she's standing right in a puddle, just like doing her jogging when like there's dry concrete to the right of her, or not a puddle to the right of her.
Drama, Ryan.
Yeah, it's like, no, you gotta stand in that puddle, you know, because it's showing how dedicated you are. Yeah, and also I feel like they literally hired ZZ back just to crap all over him in this show.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's there for any other reason than to have the trainers be able to choose somebody out so it would be exciting television. And also, I know you haven't seen it yet, Juan, but Josh's first promo, I think, on that, it's so cringeworthy.
Magical.
I need to watch that.
Brilliant. But no, the thing I like about Breaking Ground the most is, and this is going to sound weird, is that every episode is kind of exactly the same, where they take the established guy and the new guy, and then they tell their stories. It's just that the new guy so far and the established guy are just different every week. And I think that's the most fascinating part, because you really get to see all what's the word I'm looking for?
You get to see kind of both sides of the performance.
All the sides of the WWE development system, and I think that's super cool. That's why I love Breaking Ground.
Yeah, I do like how each episode they'll spend time with like different people, and like they will sometimes carry over a little bit from the last episode. Like Dana Brooke was very much a part of the 2nd episode, but then they still kind of followed up with some of that in the 3rd episode too. But you know, they focused more on Tyler Breeze in the 3rd episode. And then they'll kind of like jump around to a few other people, but I do like the style that they do it.
I think the reason they do it is because they don't have to like tie it up to a season, because since every episode has a primary focus on a different superstar or maybe like a slight follow-up, you can always have something new because there's always somebody there at the performance center. And I completely agree. I think the whole reason ZZ is there is because they maybe want to do things that are way less scripted. So they put some people in there that are like, yeah, you know, that person's not going to really make it, but he is going to piss somebody off, and that is going to make good TV.
They knew it would make good television to bring him back.
Didn't ZZ get let go recently? Or is he still
No, Tough Enough ended.
Yeah, but he was like the runner-up for the males, and then...
Oh, I think... are you asking like maybe like after Tough Enough was he hired?
Yeah, like, or is he? Do you know if he's still at the performance center?
I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Yeah.
It was basically what kind of happened was, you know, they signed a couple people after Tough Enough, and then all of a sudden rumors came out. They were like, was ZZ signed? He's been seen working out at the performance center, and then Breaking Ground came out, and everyone realized he's a part of that. So
because this season like probably ends with him letting go or him getting let go.
Well, if it happened, they kept it in the wraps, unlike the whole like Devin Taylor situation.
Yeah. And I think that the way that was done, the Devin situation, was definitely to get you to watch the episode. And
yeah,
this
even
is
though
more
it was like really not a big deal the way that they did it. Like, they're just like, we're letting
super
you go.
casual and kind of nice. If there's a nice way to be let go, there's totally
and she took it well. She didn't like start crying and all that. Like she was just like, okay, and then she left.
Now, can you imagine like the cameras just went off like, how? It just pipe bomb thing happening there.
But actually, that kind of helps towards its authenticity, though, because if she was really playing it up, it would make you suspect that the show was like heavily scripted. But
and she was actually fired.
Yeah,
yeah. No,
and I mean,
exactly.
I'm blanking on the dude's name, but I gained a crap load of respect for that dude, the talent scout guy.
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
just like,
yeah.
You know why I'm here. I'm letting you go, and that's pretty much it. Like that's. If it were to happen, that's probably how it would happen.
That guy also crapped all over that guy's promo. That same guy was
so
interviewing.
Good.
Like, was that in the third episode?
I think that was in the second. That was that guy.
Where that guy was saying like, "Oh, I've been training every day and all that." And he's like, "Have you been training every day?" And the guy's like, "No." Yeah, he just called him out on everything he said, and like he had done none of it.
Kayfabe. Give him a break, maybe, possibly. Now. We've had Breaking Ground. I almost said Breaking Bad. We have Table for Three. We have the list on the network. What would you say has been your favorite batch of new content on the network? Has it been the Table for Threes? Has it been the Breaking Grounds? What has kept your interest recently?
I have to watch more of the Table for Threes, but I think that's probably the thing I enjoy the most. I've only seen 2 of them, but I'm going to definitely watch more. That's the kind of style I like. Like I said, Breaking Ground's great. I'm not in love with it. And yeah, Table for Three is for me.
I see what you did there, but I'm the exact opposite. I'm all caught up with the Table for Threes, and they seem like they're getting kind of stagnant, where it's not really as exciting, and the people that are on it aren't super appealing, at least for the last couple for me. But Breaking Ground is still new. It's fresh. I really enjoy it. So I'm going to say so far I prefer Breaking Ground of the new batch of content. The list I haven't really checked out. I've watched like 1 or 2 episodes, but I just think like, oh, they should just make more Countdown, because Countdown was way better than the list.
Well, the latest one, they talk about 3 count, so I need to be biased in saying that the list is pretty cool. I think Breaking Ground is something that I really like. I enjoy the combination, though. Table for Three, I'm not going to say cringeworthy. It is getting more noticeable as the episodes go on. It's to like, yeah, this guy just got fed this line just before they started recording again. And that sort of takes you out. Like,
well, apparently it's already gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the real answer to this question is WWE 24. That is the best piece of new content.
So there's a little bit of everything. Like, it's all backstage stuff, which is a great thing. It's like you just get it the way you think it's best. Documentary style, there's that. Just sit down interviews, there's that. More of a focus on a specific event, you also have that. And then you have the countdowns, network, great value, great times. And if you haven't, definitely do yourself a favor and check out Breaking Ground, available every Monday after WWE Monday Night Raw, which is 3 hours and I wish was 2. Now, getting to more positive stuff, Mr. Pushik, you have questions that we need to answer.
Yes.
Yes, so
I do.
Let's do
so
that.
Let's answer them. What do you say? Let's answer some questions. Yeah. Woo! All right, questions. Woo. If you want to send us a question, you can do so. Twitter, Byte That Cast. YouTube, Byte That Cast. Email, bytethatcast@gmail.com. Facebook, Byte That Cast, and wherever the hell else we are. So our first question comes from Nick Duppin1, who asks, how would you guys make SmackDown relevant and fun?
I would make SmackDown an hour to an hour and a half show that is a complete follow-up to things that maybe happen on Raw, and then split the other hours onto main event and superstars. Because right now, SmackDown, whoa, thunder and rock and roll. Yeah, I think that SmackDown does have the opportunity to have more of a direct follow-up, and but limit the time, because as long as Raw is 3 hours, you can have, and I'm being serious here, you can have a 5-star SmackDown that everybody can tweet at me like, today, you guys need to watch this. And I don't think I'll be able to, because the time I consume with Raw really does burn me out. And that's not to say anything bad about the characters. I love the characters, so that's not the issue. It's like less time, more content within that time frame.
Yeah, how would you make SmackDown relevant and fun? How about make Raw 2 hours? That would be a great start.
It would help.
If that isn't an option, and if changing the times of the shows is not an option, then I would say to keep doing interesting things like this. Like having, you know what, like we said, having Tyler Breeze debut on SmackDown, actually a smart move. Got people to tune in. Having tournament matches on SmackDown, another good idea. Actual important things with consequences happening on the show, as well as like what Juan said, actual important story points happening on the show as well, that kind of make you at least have to check out the YouTube videos the next day so you know what's going on. Like people want, you know, how often do we see replays of what happened on SmackDown on Raw? If ever, when that's all that happens on SmackDown is replays of Raw. So we at least be showing like, hey, this happened on SmackDown and this is why this is going on now. So now I have to know, hey, well, at least I better make sure I know what's going on the show. And then maybe that leads to you actually tuning in.
Yeah, because SmackDown does have good action and all that. But as you mentioned, I think that's a really important point. We see a ton of replays about Raw and SmackDown. But if we see a replay about SmackDown and Raw, it is maybe like a 10-second clip that leads to a rematch of the same match that happened on SmackDown.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really like your point, Juan, about like how like maybe have cut it in half, have like Superstars main event on the first half, like that kind of style of show, and then the other half be like very important continuation of Raw storyline. Almost kind of make it like a WCW Nitro style show. And that could be really cool. You get the best of both worlds. Maybe you don't want to see the continuation of the story. Don't tune in for hour 2. You just want to see the wrestling, tune into hour 1 style thing. I think that would be really cool. Fresh and exciting.
And clean.
And clean.
Clean.
So thank you for the question, that clean question. And our next one comes in from NKBE1324, who asks, I know this is pure speculation, but what do you think Rollins will do when he comes back?
I think he's going to come back as a babyface, and I don't know what he's going to do from there, because the whole entire landscape of WWE will be vastly different. I don't know what feuds are going to be going on. He doesn't really have anyone he's kind of seeking revenge over, aside from maybe Kane, sort of, or maybe Triple H. I don't know. We don't know how things are going to look, but I would guess that he would rebel against the Authority. Maybe he comes back and Triple H is like, hey, we're still buddies, right? And then he betrays him or whatever.
Kind of like what Randy Orton did when he came back, really.
Yeah. I said, just instead of like playing along for like 3 weeks, just come out swinging at Triple H. That would be much better.
Yeah, I think they're going to wait for the key moment where some kind of ceremony or SummerSlam like preview special, and then cue the music, and then that's going to happen. I don't think it needs to be this overly elaborate thing. The story practically writes itself. If Reigns is the heel champion, that is. If he's not, then I'm not sure. I really am not sure.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Juan, the story writes itself. Authority got themselves a new face of the WWE when Rollins was injured. Rollins don't like that. Going to get revenge on the Authority. Boom, major baby face. And that's probably going to be it. I mean, if they wanted the most organic way possible to do Triple H versus Seth Rollins, this is totally it. I guess that's one silver lining in this dark cloud of despair that is this injury. But thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Barney Johnson, Barnaballs himself, who asks, how long will it be before people get bored of the New Day? Weeks, months, or longer?
Keeps coming up.
It does. I think that the New Day, they are smart about trying to keep things fresh and interesting. It seems, clearly they are having a lot of input in what they do. And I think they've kind of got the confidence of the creative team that they kind of let them go out there and do what they want to do. And they have been smart about just not recycling the same things over and over again. I think if they're allowed to stay together, that they can keep things fresh for as long as they're together. I think they could keep it going for over a year and have it still be great.
creativity and merchandising. I think that we complain a lot about these things with John Cena, but if they want to have longevity, they can't just rely on the whole act all the time. That's why you add the unicorn. Part. Yeah, it's great, but then you add things. Now we have the power of the unicorn. Then in a month or two, it'll be another thing and another thing. The issue is like, you know, how many things will you have to do? Because as time goes by, people's time span keeps dropping and dropping. That's
like, it's not, those are just like the bookends of that. It's what happens in between that they keep fresh. And I think that's what's important. You still always gotta have that hook. You know, they just use that as the hook at the end.
People remember the bookends more than what's in between, right? Like they could, because
that's what's repeated back to you over and over again every week. But from a week-to-week standpoint, as long as you're not saying the same thing, doing the same thing every time, you know, a lot of reason John Cena got a lot of flack is because everyone felt like every Cena match was the same. You know, every New Day promo doesn't seem, you know, people say every Cena promo seems the same. And, you know, it's not always true, but you hear like, oh, this is the, you know, the comedy Cena promo we've all seen before.
Yeah.
I feel like every time New Day goes out there, it's generally like a comedy promo, but it's usually they bring something different. It feels different.
Yeah, but to use this week's as an example, I don't really think it felt all that different. Like it did, to me, it felt formulaic, where it was, they did the city, and then came out, did a little juke, did a little jive, made a song reference, went into the ring, said their little piece, and then on to the match. It felt a little bit formulaic, but I think the key to make people not get old of it is that you just have to switch it up. And I think it's at one of those turning points right now where I think you have to ask, is that whole power of the unicorn thing going to be enough? And I don't know if it is, because it goes really far down that whole cheesy, borderline lame in a good way line and rabbit hole. So I don't
rabbits and unicorns.
Hashtag rabbits and unicorns.
Hashtag rabbit holes. It's going to be interesting, though. I think the rest of this year is going to be a very fascinating thing for the New Day. Looking forward to that conversation as it develops. But thank you for the question, sir. Our next one comes in from Billy P., who asks, do you think the WWE should repeat what they did in 1998, where Ambrose equals Mick Foley and Roman Reigns equals The Rock, and have Reigns turn and join the Authority? Now, what he's referencing here is that Survivor Series Deadly Game pay-per-view that I mentioned earlier in the show, where The Rock was the face going into that match, and Mick Foley was the corporate guy. That was Vince McMahon's guy to win the tournament, but the finish to the match had Vince McMahon turn on Mick Foley and him side with The Rock. So The Rock ended up being the heel going out of that match, and it was this big thing. So basically, do you think they should do something like that for a finish at Survivor Series?
I think that's exactly what they should do, except that we're kind of going in with both of these guys as baby faces, and you just have Roman turn heel.
I think it could be more compared to the WrestleMania 17 main event, where both Austin and The Rock went in there as faces, and one of them turned heel.
Yeah, I think it can be something that definitely works. There needs to be something at the end that it doesn't just make Roman Reigns a heel. It makes Dean Ambrose a bigger face. And I think a lot of people are discounting that. You know, it's great to have a heel that you want people to beat up, but you also want the baby face that, you know, has the reason, the emotional investment to make that happen. And I think Rock and Foley are a great example of that.
Absolutely. So, Billy P., thank you, sir, for the question. Our next one comes in from the true Prince of Pro, who asks, do you guys have a problem with Charlotte's lack of character? Charlotte is a fantastic wrestler, but she hasn't had any really development in terms of character since debuting. Her lack of character makes it hard for him to get invested in her.
I understand where he's coming from, And it surprises me that she is in the championship picture, yet alone the champion, because of that. Because it seems like everybody but her came up to the main roster with a character. When you look at Sasha Banks, you have your idea of who she is. Becky Lynch, same thing. Paige, she has her thing. Nikki Bella, same thing. Charlotte, it's like, well, people make fun of you for being Flair's daughter, but your character is basically being Flair's daughter, so...
That's actually, it's brought up, that exact point is brought up in her, the Table for Three that she's on, so if anybody hasn't checked it out, I recommend that, because she kind of gets mad about, like, oh, no matter what I do, it's like, hey, I'm Ric Flair's daughter at the end of the day, and it's kind of a frustrating scenario for her, as she explains
her theme music...
I was going to
really
say,
help.
She
Yeah.
used to actually have theme music that wasn't just a Ric Flair theme. And then once the whole takeover thing started, she got like the Flair theme and all that. Yeah, basically what Juan said is, to me, you look at all the recent divas that have come up, and Charlotte, to me, is just, as far as character-wise, just the least interesting one. Like, Becky Lynch hasn't gotten a ton of screen time, but even just her look, it's interesting. You kind of see her, and you're like, well, that's somebody I want to learn more about. She seems, like, unique. And obviously, Sasha Banks, everybody is crazy for good reason, Amazing in the ring, has a cool character. Paige, already established. She just kind of lacks that identity. She's good in the ring, but aside from being Ric Flair's daughter, she needs to kind of separate herself from that.
And it doesn't help that
it
when
doesn't
she
help
won
that
the
they
title,
skyrocketed her to the top, too.
Yeah, but even there, where when she won the title, she had an outfit that said "Woo" on the front. Whenever she starts the match,
And
she
she woos
pays
at
tribute to her
people.
father. She woos
Yeah.
at people. The theme, it's like, yeah, you're complaining about these things, and I'm not saying that she's the one that chose her theme song or any of that, but all of those things only lead to one thing, and that is that you are Ric Flair's daughter. Maury Show closing.
Plus, this didn't click for me until I watched the Table for Three, but when I did, it blew my freaking mind. The name Charlotte is even kind of a reference to Ric Flair.
Well, yeah, North Carolina.
Yeah, Charlotte, North Carolina. I was watching, I'm like, oh my God.
Woo!
Enlightenment. Boom. Thank you for the question, True Prince of Pro. And our final question of the show comes from Philly Chili Evans.
Otherwise known as Team PCE.
Indeed.
Nice.
Yeah. But he says, hey guys, Philly Chili Evans here, sending my email via Pidgeotto. And I can confirm this. Pidgeotto showed up at my patio. Tried to use Gust, had to get rid of him nice and quick because of it. But got his message, and it's all good. So the message says,
kayfabe strong, Keith. I
gotta
love
keep it strong. Hey guys, I laughed and marked. We have marked, guys, when you call me PCE and when you reference Cell and all the Dragon Ball goodness on last episode. And he says it's, by the way, it was HM2. That's fly. I thought it was different.
Close enough.
I need to get a little more established in my Pokemon knowledge. I seem to be slipping. I should put in Pokemon sometime this week. But he still loves us for trying, and that's the important part. But on to the question. Short and sweet. What do you think makes you care the most about a particular superstar? Is it down to their build, booking, creative, their backstage or real-life persona, maybe their charisma, promo work, in-ring ability? What matters most to you? What separates a person from getting over, such as Daniel Bryan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or CM Punk in their prime, to those, despite being brilliant in the ring, just can't break that glass ceiling? Also, are there any examples, if you can think of people who didn't reach that glass ceiling, aka Shelton Benjamin, he uses as an example?
Dolph Ziggler sent out a tweet last week that got some people riled up, and that is that wrestling is the least important part of wrestling. Let's take it back a little bit to Stone Cold, who Ryan brought up. Guy got injured. People are like, oh no, the world is gonna end. Most of the things that people remember for Stone Cold have nothing to do with a wrestling match. hey, he's got the Zamboni, he's got all these things, beer, maybe kicking the owner and stunning him. That wasn't a match. It's what these people do outside of the match that makes me really give a damn about any of them. Because all of these guys can probably do a suplex. Most of them have probably
I would hope so.
decent
They're in
cardio.
the WWE.
Yeah, otherwise they should go back to the Performance Center. But when you do all of these outside things, that's what matters. Another good example, my last one here, Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon, the charisma, the ability that he had to just sell his character backstage carried over to the match. It wasn't the other way. Because when you looked at Shane McMahon, you weren't thinking to yourself, wow, look at that wrestler, that body shape. He was a normal guy that could have a match with Kurt Angle, and you would believe that. And that had nothing to do with what happened in the match and everything with, like, who is Shane? What has he done? How far is he willing to go on a personal level, like in kayfabe-wise, and then he takes that to the match. I really miss Shane McMahon.
God.
I miss the guy. Come back.
Shane McMahon is like your new Johnny Curtis.
Hey, Johnny
Except
Curtis.
I can actually get behind this. You keep that.
Yeah,
don't
no,
even bring it
I
up.
can
except
get behind
we all
both.
like Shane McMahon. That's the difference.
Everybody likes Johnny Curtis, but go on.
No. 66% of this podcast doesn't, actually. But I think your point is a very valid one, Juan, because think of the recent example of Daniel Bryan. Before the whole Yes movement, Daniel Bryan had amazing matches with most of the card, like including CM Punk. Even his matches with like the Big Show were pretty good. But everybody remembers the Yes movement. That's his high point. Everybody remembers the Team Hell No to a lesser extent for that reason. Name one good Team Hell No match. That's what I thought.
Well, no, TLC with the Shield. With Ryback there, too.
Yeah, but that wasn't yes, it was a match featuring Team Hell No, but it wasn't, a Team Hell No.
I get your point. Like, when you think Team Hell No, you immediately think about the backstage vignettes.
Dr.
You think about the
Shelby
Dr.
and
Shelby stuff. Yeah, I'm the tag team champions. No, I'm the tag team champions.
I get you.
Wrestling is very far, or like down that list. But Yes Movement and Team Hell No.
All right, well,
Daniel
what
Bryan.
I would say
Good stuff.
is, and what all these guys have in common, Daniel Bryan, Stone Cold, CM Punk, is that when they cut a promo or do whatever, I think promos are probably the most important thing for getting over. And that is that you have to believe in them, at least to some degree. That, when CM Punk was out there cutting a promo, you really felt like he believed everything that he was saying. And Daniel Bryan, he wasn't the best promo, but he was a guy who had a lot of heart. And when he did speak, a lot of times he would speak his mind, and a lot of it was the complete truth. And Austin, he carried himself like a badass. He acted like a badass, and you believed everything he did because he put his heart and soul into everything that he did. So I think it really just comes down to what you do. Like, you believe in it so much that it just transcends through the screen and you just buy into it.
Now, the other thing he brings up is the example of somebody that didn't reach that glass ceiling. I think that Shelton Benjamin is a good example, and I know that some people listening may think Cesaro, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I want to get your guys' feedback, is that I don't think Damien Sandow will ever reach that glass ceiling.
No.
Nothing against him.
You mean
at all.
we'll break through it?
Yeah, like I think that
I
what
even
he's
think
done,
reach it.
yeah, like I think that what he has done up to this point will be more or less like the standard that his career will be set on afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think reason why, quickly, because technically that's part of the you got sort of the entertainment aspect, but then he actually can transition that into the ring. Because, like, when you think about Damien Sandow, is there anything that you think of, like, yeah, look at that move? It's like, look at that. What? The elbow.
Yeah, no, he had a great match with John Cena, with the whole Money in the Bank thing on the line. But other than that, I can't really think of a memorable match that he had. But yeah, so you definitely need that excitement factor in the ring. You know, I mean, Hulk Hogan, or Steven Richards, whatever you want to call him, is he's a guy who, you know, he wasn't the greatest wrestler, but he did also have a moveset that was able to interest an audience. You know, he was able to be smart in the ring to get people excited for his matches.
Hulk Hogan had the perfect Hulk Hogan moveset. Yeah, pretty much.
You need some sort of in-ring charisma too that draws people in, and that's something, you know, someone like Daniel Bryan had in spades. So you need that too, and it's like Shelton Benjamin had all the ability in the world, but he just didn't have that element that drew the audience in. You could appreciate his ability, but you never really cared about him. You were just impressed with what he could do.
Agreed.
Yeah, so it's the key reason why we give a damn about Rollins being injured. Not just as a human being, but from a character standpoint. He's somebody that I would say has all of the above. He can be super athletic, Phoenix Splash, all of these things. But when you take it to the character part, he's also got little things like the laugh. It's all those minuscule things that maybe people think don't matter, but they matter more than anything that guy can perform in the ring.
Look at Neville. All the ability in the world, but he hasn't hit that thing that really draws you to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much. It goes right back to that. It's like, how can you complement what you can do in that ring? Because otherwise, there are a million wrestlers worldwide that can do that. Watch Ring of Honor, watch any other company, not knocking on them, but if you want to watch for the athleticism, there are so many options that WWE is probably the least important one if you really consider that to be the primary. I just convinced myself on that.
That's a solid point.
Yeah, so thank you, everybody, for the awesome questions. Keep them coming, as Keith mentioned, bytethatcast@gmail.com for that, bytethatcast for Twitter, Facebook, and all of that goodness. But why am I even talking when I have this
did
guy?
my job for me. You stole my gimmick, man. Get hyped. All right, okay. So we want to thank everyone for tuning into another super exciting, sexy edition of the Byte That Podcast. 116 of these in the can, baby. How about that? What do you think of that? 116, huh?
It is more than 115, plus that 0 episodes. It's technically,
and where can everyone who's listening catch more content that we do? That's, of course, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Byte That Cat. Byte That Cat?
Byte That Cat.
No,
what are you talking about?
What?
What are you doing on Friday Night Survival?
No. I apologize. YouTube.com/Byte That Cast.
There you go.
We're not eating cats and dogs over here. Okay. All right. So this Thursday, you can check out our Fight Night bonus episode where Keith does some hilarious commentary, and trust me, you're just gonna watch it.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, whatever. Keeping the kayfabe strong. We get it. It's cool. Just watch it. It's pretty hilarious. There'll be a weekend video up. We're not sure when it's gonna be on yet.
But, that's his name. All right.
There you go. We're going off the rails here. So you can catch a weekend video as well, and of course, social media: Facebook /Byte That Cast, Twitter @Byte That Cast. You can send us your emails at bytethatcast@gmail.com. Instagram Byte That, Wrestling Amino Byte That. For everything else, you can just go to bytethat.com, and also, hey, leave an iTunes review for us if you enjoyed the show. That actually goes a long way. We appreciate everyone who's done that so far. So if you have a moment, please do that. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
No cats were harmed during the making of this episode.